Tuesday, August 30th, and I've got an ice cream swirl on top of my head. And that is the look for today. Let's see, you only need two things today, which is going to be a writing utensil and then this thing right here. If you're a home child and you don't have it with you, then you're just going to have to use your memories because we're filling in the rest of it and then practicing and then getting into things today. Now let's see, the tattoo questions are due Thursday, so just remind you about that one if you did not get it done. I am looking for complete sentences and stuff like that, which I'll put back up there in a second to try and help you out. I also sent it out on your mind. It's also on Canvas. The quiz is coming up on Friday of this week. It is going to be a slightly different quiz than the last one, but I'll explain that when we get closer to it. It is an actual quizzy quiz for actually quizzy quiz points. It's going to have questions from yesterday's story. It's going to have questions from the ones we're going to do tomorrow and Thursday. It'll have questions over all the notes. All of that stuff will be on there to make you guys smarter people. Yeah, that was definitely strange. Then again, to put this up there to remind you as far as this part goes, I'm looking for complete sentences. Make sure you number them. Make sure you have sentencey things as you go through the whole thing and stuff like that to try and help you out. All right. Your notes should now be note side down so that we can see what stuff is still in your brain so we do not have to attack a child. All right. I wish you the best of luck. Let's begin. Now back to short stories. We are going to finish that front side notes today. But being as that we've not done this in a hot minute, I figure we'll go through and do a quick review-y thing. All right, I begin with. As we start off with plot, we're going to go ahead and jump to Keegan for the. Sorry, I was trying to figure out what that says. Little miss. Sorry, that one did not mean to be completely distracted on that one. Anyway, back to here. Sorry, Keegan, I got completely distracted with weird random writing stuff there. For plot, Keegan, you look scared, Keegan. It's okay. Have faith in yourself. Okay. All I need, if you can, remember the big word that we had that was all bolded. If not, then just a general description of what plot is in the story. I know, it's been so long, right? That's why we go back and do the review thing to help you out. What do you think it could be?
What?
Nicely done! Nicely. So the what, the story, or what happens in the story, the general outline of all the things that go into it. See, sometimes it just comes to you. It's weird how those things work out. And then we got to the character, the one that we have from there, Shakora. Since you were dead before. One, make sure you get a copy of the story from yesterday, or you can go online to get it because you'll need it for Friday and for the questions on Thursday. Shakora, I'm back to here for you. Character. What is our main thing we have to know for character? Who is correct. That's where the who is in the story. And then we got to the setting, where there's two parts that are going to go in the setting. Travion, don't get greedy. You only get one of the two. So pick your favorite one of the two, Travion. I couldn't hear you. You mumbled into your hand. You have to mumble at me. It's correct, Travion. Be strong. And then do you want to go ahead and high five Nolan so he can tag in? That's a good high five. There was so much emotion in that. So we have where is one of them. Do you remember the other one? Kind of wait. When are you going to tell me? Good job. So we have the where, the when, the time, and the place. And then we get to the points of view. And the point of view is going to be Quincy. What is our big word we have to have for the points of view? Nope, that's close though. It does have an H in it. You're close.
How?
Is correct. That's for the how the plot is told to us, or how we see the story. And then, because you can't turn it over to Josiah, since I now know your guys' things are turned face down, there are 3 points of view that we are going to be using. What are those 3 points of view? First, you should begin with the first one. Josiah, you remember what the first one is? I'm looking. He's getting there. He's thinking. What the 3 points of view are. If you are a person, is nicely done. We have the first person point of view. See, I had faith in you getting there on that one. And then we have 2 of them that are split besides first person. The next 2 are going to be?
Third person omniscient.
Is one of them. Do you know the other one?
Third person limited.
Nicely done. So that's where our first person comes in, third person limited, third person omniscient. Nayla, when we get to our first person one, see from there. Who is telling us the story in first person? Because it's not the narrator. So who do we have to look for to actually go through and tell us the story? It's 2 words.
I
That is the pronouns. You are correct. So that uses the pronouns I, me, stuff like that. That is a two-word thing. It rhymes with rain. Nicely done. See, I had it right there. Hold it. The main character with the I, me, and the we, and the stuff like that goes into it from there. And then who else was I supposed to pick on from that one? I had Corbin. For this one, Corbin, with the third person instead of main character telling us the story, who's telling it to us? Is correct. And third person limited. Caden, how many characters does third person limited follow?
1.
Is correct, and that's where the he, she, and all that comes in. And then we jumped over to the third person omniscient, Cohen. And how many people does third person omniscient follow?
Multiple.
Is correct. Now you can turn your papers back over. We've properly tested you. Since it's been like, 12 days or something like this. This last time we had to do it. And we did all those reviewy things with bunny monsters and points of view and video games, and hopefully that's all been feed into your noggins. It's soon tight. But now, let's continue. I said, let's continue. There we go. Theme. So with theme, this is our other tough one. Point of view is our first tough one that kids tend to struggle with. Theme is going to be our next tough one that kids tend to struggle with. Monley.
Theme is like the moral of the story.
Not bad, Monley. It is actually going to go with that. It is going to be what we learn in the story. I ran out of question words, so your big one for theme is going to be learn. Because it's supposed to be a moral, or it could be a lesson, but some way that you learn in the story. What's going to throw a lot of you guys off is you're going to think of these things called genres, like sci-fi or history or something like that, and you're going to think that's the theme. Or if you've ever been to a themed birthday party, you're like, Mr. Brovicast, last year I had a Wonder Pets themed birthday party. I'm proud of you. That's a different kind of theme. Or if you're like, I went to a pirate themed Halloween party. Again, proud of you. That's a different kind of theme. So this theme is going to be a thing that you learn in a story. Like in Harry Potter, you learn that people without noses are evil. And so that would be a thing that you're supposed to learn from the overall story. Or watch out for small boys with scars on their head. They're going to poke you with sticks. That could be a theme that you learn overall in the story. So we're going to practice getting to themes here shortly. The theme is thing that you learn. Internal conflict. So we'll get to internal conflict next. He's on this one. Two things we're going to define to help you out. One, do you guys know what a conflict is? Good. Because in a moment, I'm going to have a conflict with a student who is not even facing me because they keep turning to face another child in class to get their attention. And then we might have a conflict. If we were using this as an example, what would be the definition of conflict?
Tempest.
No, that would be a person. I said, what is the definition of conflict? Not which person might have a conflict. What is going to happen between Tempest and I if there's a conflict?
A fight?
There you go. So a conflict is going to be a fight, a battle, a throwdown, an issue of some kind. I mean, hypothetically, Tempest, we're not saying her particularly. It could be any random child that was turning around to try and get Nayla's attention. Who knows who it could be? So that's what a conflict is. The next thing we're going to have to define is internal. Do you guys know the difference between internal and external?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's find out. What's internal? All right, Caden.
Inside.
Is correct. Then what's external?
Outside.
Is correct. So when I have to throat punch Tempest, the throat punch happens externally. But then the internal part is where the throat goes onto the inside. So that helps you understand the difference between external and internal. External punch, internal damage. So that's going to bring us to the definite. Thank you for helping to educate people. That was so good teamwork. Internal conflict is going to be a conflict that happens inside of someone. Like when Tempest can't breathe anymore because of her throat? That is a kind of internal conflict, but we're going to go a different direction. An internal conflict is going to be a conflict that happens in a character's head. Here's an example. We always use or, and we're going to give them options. An internal conflict for a character could be, should I keep turning and facing this other student, or should I face the teacher? There is a big word for these internal conflicts. It begins with a D and ends with decision. Look at you guys playing along. So an internal conflict is a major decision in the story by the main character. So Internal conflict is a major decision. Should I make a good choice, or should I say bye-bye to my throat? So it's always going to be an or thing.
Wait.
And then I'm going to pause here for a second because it's first period. So make sure that you, home children, see, I put it, it's all fixed now. I don't know what was wrong with weird. And then you're also going to put the word not, N-O-T, and then put a big old X through it. Because you can't say Tempest internal conflict is to be a good kid or not be a good kid. Because that's the same thing, it's just you're being like a wussy globetrotter child. So as soon as I hear you say not, it's going to be not, and it's just going to be like that. So you just go, Tempest's decision is to turn and face the teacher, or to not, and then down you go. So again, do not use the word not, or be able to protect your throat on that one. Internal conflict. Now, external conflict. So back to Caden, if internal is the any bits, what is external?
The outie bits.
There you go. Way to use my scientific phrasing. The outie bits. And so an external conflict is instead of a battle inside your head, an external conflict is an actual battle between things in the story. You are always going to write it as something versus something. Tempest versus the big ugly troll. Something like that. We have these two battles that happen in the story. So it's this physical battle fighty thing. Something versus something. And there can be multiple battles in a story. After the big ugly troll attacks, it could be Tempest versus her sore throat. Something like that. Who knows what it could be. Tempest versus... It's okay. We'll get there. I mean, you're not wrong. But... Oh, now you throw the hand after you already laughed at her joke. It's a little late on that one. You're like, oh, that was... Oh, no! And then you throw up the... Yeah, totally. Uh-huh. Don't worry. I'm pretty sure if I sprinkle out some candy corn tonight, the seating chart gnomes are going to come overnight and they're going to fix problems. Everyone loves the seating chart gnomes. They come in there and they start nibbling on the seating chart and all of a sudden names get all moved around and you're like, curse you seating chart gnomes. They're the best thing ever. They feed off of candy corn and children's tears, which is what allows me to dance on them. So this is going to disappear. We good? Okay. So let's find out. Now we're going to put this... Oh, do you see the notes at the bottom where it says the secondary short story elements? We're not doing those yet because I'm afraid your brains will melt. So we're going to do some practicey things, and then we'll eventually build up to that one. So we will get there. It's just not time yet. All right. Here's what's going to happen. We are going to apply these 7 elements to a short story, but I am going to read the short story to you. This short story is the wonderful tale of the tortoise and the hare. Some of you have heard of this story before, so it's going to help you out a little bit, but this might be a slightly changed version because I might have had to sass it up a little bit. As we get into it, you are going to have to figure out the 7 elements. You're going to figure out who are the characters, where's the setting, what's the plot, point of view, theme, stuff like that. You don't have to write this down. I'll show you in a second. This is not homework. You're not writing it down. This is just going to be you using your brain. So we're going to try and help you out on this one. All right. Allow me to read story to you to help you out. The Tortoise and the Hare. There once was a sassy rabbit who thought he was all that in a bag of chips. He would brag to all the other animals in the forest about how much faster than them he was. I have never yet been beaten, he said. Whenever I want to win, I will most definitely destroy anybody who steps up. I challenge anyone in this forest to race with me. A friendly turtle who had been listening to the annoying bunny for weeks on end said quietly, I accept your challenge. Ha! That's a good joke, said the confident hare. I could dance around you all the way. You're not even worth the effort of a laugh. Just keep talking, answered the tortoise. Until you've actually beaten me, your words mean nothing. Shall we race? So an impromptu racetrack was created and a start line was dragged in the dirt. As soon as the owl yelled, go! The hare took off at a sprint. It was almost out of sight at once. But about halfway down the track, he stopped and came up with a plan. He wanted to show that dumb turtle just how stupid he was for sassing him in front of all his friends. To insult the scrubby little tortoise, he just laid down in the middle of the road and took a nap. The tortoise, meanwhile, plodded on and on. He ignored the rabbit and just did what he did best, walk without stopping. Eventually, when the hare awoke from his taunting nap, he looked up to see the tortoise almost across the finish line. And no matter how much he sprinted and swore, he could not catch up in time to save the race. And the tortoise won. All right, thank you, I'll be held here. So with this one, in a moment, I'm getting ready to randomly start calling on you to figure out character, setting, plot, point of view, theme, internal, external. So I'm giving you a moment to make sure you feel somewhat strong with this. Again, you don't have to have it written down. Just make sure you look up there. Can you figure out what an internal conflict is going to be? What is the external conflict in the story? Where did it take place? I'll tell you there are 3 characters in the story. So we're going to try and figure out who the 3 characters are. The setting, make sure you know the when and the where. Now we're going to see how strong you feel, or how strong you don't feel. Okay. The worst that happens is you fail epically in front of everyone and is immortalized forever on YouTube. Okay. But that's every junior high kid's biggest fear. I know! Welcome to class. All right, so characters. We should have 3 characters in story, if we can remember things from there. So let's go with Everett. Let's see how... Seems so excited for poor Everett. Everett, let's see how many characters you can name. What do you have?
Tortoise.
Tortoise.
The hare.
Okay.
And the owl.
Nicely done. That was all 3. Now, one of the things I'm going to have you guys do is anytime that we name characters, you also have to give a description of the characters. And it has to be something that would not work for any other character. So whatever you come up with, it just has to apply to that one and no one else. So you can't put like Bobby, a person, Joey, a person, Susie, a person. So make sure it's something that only works for that thing or that character. So an example that would not work is an animal, because they're all animals. So you have to figure out something that character does that separates them from other characters. Okay, let's see how this goes. Yes, Tony. So Tony, for the hare, what is a description of the hare that would not work for any other character? What does he do? What does he look like? Something like that.
He's a bunny, so he has 2 long ears, and
I'll roll with that. Works for me. 2 long ears. Does the rabbit do anything in the story that stands out?
he took a nap.
Took a nap would work for me also. So either one of those can work. No one's?
He's fast.
And that would work too. I went for sassy and fast. You could have put the fact that he's got 2 fluffy ears. We're going to assume he has ears because those of you who have a history of bunnies. The fact that he does take a nap would also work. Stuff like that. Nicely done from there. Then we get to the tortoise. Cash. Let's go for our description of tortoise. Either what he looks like, what he does, something like that.
He's slow.
Works for me. He was definitely slow in the story. Any other descriptions that work aside from slow? Lindsay?
He won the race.
He won the race would also work for me. All right, I went for calm and slow, because he definitely seemed calm, even though the guy, person, thing, rabbit kept sassing him throughout the entire thing. And then Travion, this one gets a little bit tougher. We get the owl, who does not do much in the story. He only really does one thing in the story. You remember what the one thing is the owl did? And if not, we can come back and pick on you tomorrow. This one made it kind of tough. Nolan?
The loud owl.
Why do you say loud?
Because when he said go, he like screamed.
I'll
go,
take it.
That was like the only thing he did.
He only did. He screamed one time and he said go. So I was going to say starts the race or is loud. Works for me. So either one of those would be nicely done. Setting, we have the when and the where. So for the when, this one's kind of tough.
In the morning
Why do you say morning?
or afternoon, because the race is really gonna happen in the night because the owl, not the owl, but the turtle and the hare, yeah, they're not nocturnal.
Would work for me. I can see that. Although I have had a kid argue last year that the story takes place at night, and he had evidence that the story takes place at night. How does that work as evidence? There you go. And so for me, I didn't go either one of those directions. I went for, where? I put a long time ago because I assumed, I think that's how the story began, it was like a long time ago. But if you can back up day or night, I would accept that also. So if you put nighttime because an owl is nocturnal, good. I'm proud of you. I'll take it. If you put daytime because the other ones are you can't take a nap in the middle of the night because it'd be called going to sleep, done. I like that thinking also. So as long as you can back it up, I'm good. For the where, hopefully it's going to be slightly more straightforward on that one. Fine, Caden.
That's a forest.
I would accept that one. And then you have the forest, and then technically I think there's one other thing you could put out there. Quincy?
Car took place in the race.
And I would take that also.
Yeah.
I put on a racetrack. That was my same thinking. Beyond that, I'm not sure you'll find much else in that. Alright, plot. Whenever I do plot with you, if you look on that back side of it where it has plot up there, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time we do plot, we're going to break down our story into the 5 most important things. Over my many years of teaching, I've discovered it makes things way easier on kids. And here's the order we're going to do it. We're going to figure out the first thing that happened, the last thing that happened, and then a middle thing that happened. And then from there we can figure out 2 and 4. So as an example, what is the very first thing that happens at the whole start of everything in the whole story-ish thing would jigger from there? What do you want to go with? Yeah?
The rabbit is bragging about being fast.
Yeah, works for me. Good. Look at that. That's kind of creepy. You're like right up there. All right. Rabbit brags about being fast. Cameron, we're now going to jump all the way to the end. And what is the very last thing that happens in the story?
The tortoise wins.
With confidence.
The tortoise wins.
There you go. So the last thing is, I put rabbit loses the race, but tortoise wins the race. Works for me. I will give you number 3 because it makes it easier in the middle. I put rabbit and turtle race through the woods. So if number 1 is the rabbit brags about being the fastest, and number 3 is the rabbit and turtle race through the woods, what does that make number 2 have to be? Because only one thing can fill in there. Oh. Ian?
The tortoise asks the hare to race.
I was going to go more for like a throw it out challenge, but yeah, that would work for me. I put turtle accepts the challenge to a race. And then 3, rabbit and turtle race through the woods. 5, rabbit loses the race. What comes between those 2? Mondley?
The rabbit sleeps.
There you go. Rabbit takes a nap to taunt the turtle. So as again, remember, you don't have to write these down because this is not part of the homework that you're putting on there. Because on the back side of that sheet is one for a story that we're going to do tomorrow. So just trying to prevent you guys from doing extra homework. I know, some of you guys are addicted to homework. You're like, I just like it, it's so much fun, I love homework. But not, this is all in your brain.
Oh, there's another way.
But my brain is empty. Then that makes things tough. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the story again because we're going to figure out point of view. So before we figure out point of view, I figured seeing is going to make your life way easier on this one. Tempest, this will be yours. Feel strong on this one. So you can't cover your eyes. How do you see it then? So you're going to figure out our options are first or third person. Is it being told by a main character talking to us or by a narrator? Third person. I agree. Is it following one character or is it jumping around and following several characters? So what would it be?
Third.
Is correct. So for our point of view, third person, omniscient, because it was having a narrator talk to us and it was jumping around between different characters, so it gives you the third person omniscient. Alright, I put follows rabbit and tortoise. For the theme, this is going to be the thing you're supposed to learn from story. I left the theme off, but have you guys ever heard the story before of the tortoise and the hare?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know the moral that's supposed to go with it?
Yes.
Yeah. I forget what it is though.
Well, that does make it tougher. Alright, we'll see. Nolan?
Slow and steady wins the race, or wins the race.
There you go. So the thing that's supposed to go with it is slow and steady wins the race. My question almost every time we do theme is you have to give like a short little 1-sentence explanation for why it makes sense. Why does that make sense in this story about slow and steady wins the race as opposed to anything else? Agreed. It's kind of Corbin?
Because the turtle is slower than the rabbit, and the turtle won.
I would agree. Here's my issue. I think that theme is awful because I think there's a lot better themes in this thing. What is it the rabbit should have learned that would have been our theme? Ian?
Don't brag.
Why? How does that connect?
He was like kind of bragging that he was so much faster to the point where he took a nap.
Yeah, I think that's a way better theme than the one that's supposed to be slow and steady wins the race. The idea is that you're supposed to take your time to do things, but the rabbit would have won if he hadn't stopped to taunt somebody. So in that case, fast would have won the race. Those of you who go out for track in the spring, I don't want you to go out for track when the coach says, let's do tryouts, and he goes, go, and everyone takes off running, and you just start walking, and you're like, I got this, coach, and everyone else is running, and you're like, doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. You're like, I learned this in English, and you just walk your way around the whole thing, and he's like, son, you're not on the team. And you're like, but I won the race. You're like, no, son, you're in 8th place. So slow and steady doesn't win every race. Nor should you really get fast in the race and then just lay down and then watch everyone else run past you and be like, I learned this in English too. Best learning ever. So yeah, I think a lot of times with theme, you can come up with better themes than I have. That is fine with me. If you can come up with a theme that works and makes sense, more power to you. Internal conflict. So again, this is going to be that major decision in the story. Ooh, hang on, sorry, I had a hiccup. Better now, all right. There it is. On this one, we got into it. Nayla, what was the word I said we have to use for internal conflict?
Decision.
Close, that's good. That's what the definition is. But when we give examples, there was a...
Or.
Is correct. And, hang on, Nayla, what word can you not use?
Not.
Nicely done, Sadie. Good team. So the turtle has to make a decision in the story. So you have to be able to use something or something and not use not when you're coming up with whatever the answer may be. So Josiah, we're going to come back to you again on this one as we get to rotate around to all the beautiful people here. What decision does the turtle have to make in the story? Like when the rabbit's taunting him or something like that.
To challenge the hare
Mm-hmm.
or to just leave the hare be.
Works for me. Race rabbit or just move on. I would agree. And for the rabbit, he also has to make big decision in there. And we'll come back to Cameron. Well, I didn't get to pick on you till like the very end last time, so I figure my second round I got to pick on you again. It makes things more fun. So the rabbit also makes big decision in story. What big decision does rabbit make?
To be mean.
Something or something. So what's that? So in the middle of the race, what does he do? All right. So how do we make that a decision?
To take a nap or to decide not to take a nap.
What was that word you said?
Decide
Keep going.
not. Oh, decide.
Well, then you just can't give up. This is not a race against a turtle. So if he doesn't, so what was the first part?
To take a nap.
So, or if he doesn't take a nap, what does he do?
Keep running.
Look at that. See, you tried to give up on me, Cameron. Taunt with a nap, or, see, I had faith. Don't you eye flare me. So, taunt with a nap, or just finish out the race. So again, you have to use or, do not use not. Learn like poor Cameron did. She almost lost her throat. It would have been scary. Then we get down to external conflict, Sarah. And with external conflict, what is the big word we have to use for external conflicts? Should be in your notes if you turn the thing over. There's like the thing that was there. Because the external conflict is going to be this battle.
Between two people.
So what are the two things fighting each other in this story?
The rabbit and the turtle.
So how would you write it correctly? Ooh, did you not write that part down? You're so close.
The battle between the rabbit and the turtle.
So on this one, you always have to make sure you do verses. So it's going to be something versus something. So on this one, you're going to write it as?
The turtle versus the rabbit.
There you go. So that's what the VS means. It means verses. So every external conflict is written down as a versus, the two things that have to fight each other. Then you have to be able to explain to me why that's important to the story in one way or another. So we'll go back to Keegan on this one. And Keegan, why is the turtle versus the rabbit important to the overall story?
Because they're racing.
There you go. Simple as that. The rabbit, I also put rabbit versus his own stupidity, because that'd be one of the ones in there too. And then any other ones you guys come up along those lines. You have now been properly trained. Tomorrow, we're going to be reading a short story, which is going to involve all of these things, and you're going to have to try and figure them out on your own. If you turn paper over to backside, where it says the two ones with Lady and the Tiger and there's Fisherman, I'm going to read story to you tomorrow, and I will help answer and explain things as we go through. but you're going to have to be able to figure out the characters in the story, setting of the story, and I'll answer questions and help guide you. My goal is that you should be able to get all the answers during class. And we're going to do another one called Fisherman on Thursday because they're both really fairly short, easy stories. And then Friday, we have Quizzy Thing coming up to try and help you from there. Now, I'm going to show you one more quick thing before we finish out. On your notebook, if you fall behind a notebook or if you're not sure as far as if you're missing things for the notebook, I'm adding this little button thing below our last thing. We have like the different calendar things on my main Canvas page. So if you ever are missing a homework or if you are missing the questions from yesterday and you want to find them, there is the thing where you go out there and you click where it says notebook, click that, and it's going to bring you to my notebook page where it's going to tell you what should be in your table of contents. This is like your little middle area of it. You're going to have all the homeworky side and the bell worky side. If you're missing a thing, you just go clicky on it and it's going to whoop, brings up what all the different assignments are and stuff like that. And so I will have that added onto it for you guys to get a chance to use. So in case you're ever missing notebook, you can. And then also, way over here behind where Lindell is, below my collection of braids, is my notebook, which is right there. And so you are always welcome to borrow my paper notebook at the same time. I have no idea. Kids started giving me their braids last year when they ripped out, and I just started hanging them up there, so I've just added random connections to the braids. So, listen, I have weirder things. Over here on the sidewall, I have a collection of children's teeth. Because-
What?
No, you don't.
You
No.
icky.
Yeah, dude. You can see them right there.
Oh my God.
Bro.
I didn't pull the teeth out. A kid lost his tooth in class, and then he gave it to me. I'm like, I don't know, so I just put it in a bag and put it over there. And then
So disgusting. Don't do that.
You're icky.
yeah, someday I can clone a child.
No.
Give it to him.
Right. Home children, we're good, and you've now probably learned. Tomorrow we're gonna. Oh man, that is really fluffy. Nolan.
Can I move glasses?
Well, we all want to move classes. It'd be an empty room, child, but a good try. All right, and then we'll